Good day, everyone. My name is Berkenda. I'm the Vice President of Member Engagement and Operations here at OmniAir Consortium. For those of you who are new, which is a lot of you, to our story, OmniAir Consortium is the leading industry association promoting interoperability and certification for ITS, tolling, and connected vehicles. This session is intended to provide a quick insight to who we are and what we do. You'll hear from Jason Conley, who is OmniAir's Executive Director, as well as two partners and contributors to our organization and the industry, Mike Brown from Southwest Research Institute and Lauri Brady from Kapsch. Right now, I would love to turn it over to Jason Conley. Jason, if you could please join me on screen.
Thank you very much, Berkenda. And welcome, everyone. Good afternoon for those on the East Coast. Good morning for those on the West Coast, and very good evening for those across the pond who are joining us. I'm Jason Conley, Executive Director of OmniAir Consortium. I'm going to provide you with a brief overview of the organization, and then I'll turn it over to Mike Brown, Chair of our Coordinating Council, and Lauri Brady, who is one of our board members, to talk about a few other aspects of the organization. But OmniAir's mission as an organization is really narrowly focused. Our focus is promoting trust in communications technologies that are used in transportation, and we do that through independent third-party testing and certification, through a global network of authorized accredited test laboratories using qualified test systems and validated test cases. Essentially, OmniAir certification indicates that communications equipment conforms to industry standards and is interoperable and meets certain security requirements. And by that, we believe that this certification will help to extend trust in the technologies and lead to more ubiquitous deployment of ITS technologies and connected vehicle and tolling technologies, thereby saving many lives and time in the process. So OmniAir as an organization is a little bit unique. You may have heard of other certification bodies for other wireless communication systems. Typically, certification bodies are primarily comprised of those organizations or those companies that have equipment for certification. OmniAir has what we consider a 360-degree view of the problems because we have such a broad cross-section of the connected vehicle and tolling ecosystems. It starts with automotive OEMs and infrastructure owner-operators, tier one suppliers, application providers, cybersecurity firms, semiconductor providers, systems integrators, consultants, telecommunications carriers, research institutes, test laboratories, and others. And we think that really helps us better understand the problems and have a more fully trusted certification program that meets the needs of the end users. So OmniAir as an organization is very diverse. We have over 80 members from around the world. Approximately 50% of our members are based in North America, another 25% spread across Asia, Australia, and then another 25% in Europe. We are very diverse. I would point out that we do have a number of public sector members as well, infrastructure owner-operators, including the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, E-ZPass, E470, North Carolina Turnpike, Oregon Department of Transportation, Caltrans, or the California Department of Transportation, and others, Georgia Department of Transportation just joining in the past week. So we're very, very excited to have that. And then in addition, we do have the technology providers. And again, we think that really gives us a holistic view of the problems that we're trying to address. So, sorry, I'm having a little trouble with the slides. But our executive leadership, you'll see here, this is our board of directors, chaired by PJ Wilkins, who is also the executive director of the E-ZPass Group, the largest collection of tolling agencies in the country, over 50 agencies from across 25 states. Vice Chair Stephen Novosad of H&DP Corporation, and you can see across here a broad cross-section of leaders drawn from the tolling and ITS and connected vehicle communities. So our certification programs is really the core of OmniAir's mission. You will not see us as engaged in policy or lobbying or a lot of the things that you would see in a traditional association. We have a very narrow focus, And we think that's our mission, and that's what we really try to focus. Our certification programs started with RFID tolling in 2012, 6C readers and tags that you may see out there. We have been certifying those for over 10 years. Our connected vehicle certification program started with DSRC and moved into CB2X. We now do this for OBUs, RSUs, and modules. And we're working on future certification programs, which we'll hear a little bit about today, including RUC and tolling third-party applications, aftermarket V2X devices, and of course, network V2X. So our certification services extend beyond device certification. We also have test equipment qualifications. So if you have a test system that is used by a laboratory to test for standards conformance or for interoperability or congestion control, well, we audit those and we provide that seal of certification for that equipment. We do the same thing for laboratories. We have a full audit program to ensure that test laboratories meet our requirements and are able to test against our programs. We do the same thing for authorized field test sites and, of course, devices. And our view is this helps to drive trust across the testing network and ultimately leading to trusted equipment that can be used for successful deployments. So why certification? Certification is intended to build trust. The scope of our certification programs, it goes far beyond simply the radio or physical layer. We test across the security and the network layers. We go right up to the application layer. We ensure that devices can send, receive, communicate, and exchange messages in a way that's interoperable. So that leads to interoperability and certification leads to more ubiquitous deployment. It also helps to drive down deployment costs. It ends dependence on a single vendor and creates market choice. And we think that's really an important part of our mission. And of course, we do this for connected vehicles and tolling. And you'll see here examples of certificates that are found on our online directory of qualified equipment. And in the right-hand corner of each certificate, you'll see the OmniAir certified mark, which can be used with equipment that has been OmniAir certified. So I won't speak to this in detail, but this is to give you a sense of the thoroughness of our certification program for open road tolling. We do this for not just single protocol tolling, but we do this with multi-protocol. So TDM, CGO, and 6C. We do conformance. We do environmental testing. We do the field performance testing. Every OmniAir certified tag has to go through 5,800 runs. So it's a very extensive process. So what we want to make sure is that when tolling agencies deploy this equipment, it's something that they can trust and deploy with confidence. We do the same thing in connected vehicles. We do this for CB2X, OBUs, RSUs, and modules. We start with the radio PHY layer testing. We move on through security testing, testing the different message sets from SPAT, MAP, BSM, others. And then we have RSU specific tests that we do as well. And they're drawn from across a number of standards organizations, from IEEE to SAE to others. So it is it's a very thorough certification program. And again, it's intended to instill trust in that devices. So for device manufacturers and for others in the connected vehicle ecosystem, we don't just do testing and certification, but we also do plug fests. And we've done these around the world. We do these twice a year. We've done 15 to date, and we've done them in Asia. We've done them in Europe, in Canada, and across the United States. We're planning our next one in Michigan. I'll talk about that in a minute. But it is a great opportunity to come and learn and share knowledge and to test with leading test system providers and test laboratories and to really get a good sense of how your device is doing before entering that certification testing. So this is an example from a Florida Plug Fest that we hosted at SunTrax in partnership with the Florida Turnpike Enterprise and Florida Department of Transportation. You can see that we had test stations operated by large systems integrators like Leidos. NIST had a test station. Several security certificate providers had test stations, as well as test equipment from Keysight to Spirent to others. So it was a really great way for devices to really test out how they're doing. You can see some of the device manufacturers that actively participated there. This is some of the fun that we have. We do learning. We do technical learning sessions throughout the week, technical presentations on everything from standards to test equipment to major projects. We also do field testing and some demonstrations, and we enjoyed a little bit of SunTrax. This is from our San Diego Plug Fest, where we did a large workshop as well as some public safety demonstrations. And it's a really a great opportunity. Every Plug Fest, we try to do a workshop and bring in some of the leading experts from around the world. For this last Plug Fest, we did V2X-based tolling demonstrations from two different vendors. We had two flavors of what I think is the future of tolling. And you'll hear a little bit later from Lauri Brady talking about that, but very exciting stuff. And of course, our next Plug Fest is coming up in October. We're doing this at the American Center for Mobility in the Detroit area. We're partnering with SCMS Manager on this. The focus will be interoperability, and we're going to have opportunities for both conformance testing and interoperability. And of course, with SCMS Manager involved, it would be a lot of security testing at this event. And we'll have a formal announcement on this coming up in the next day or two, as well as a call for speakers for our workshop. So if you're interested in that, you can see more information on our website. And I'm going to say that nothing happens at OmniAir without our volunteer members. Our volunteer members participating through our working groups. That is overseen by a coordinating council that represents all of the chairs of our technical working groups. And that is led by Mike Brown, who is a senior engineer with Southwest Research Institute. You may be familiar with Mike in his role at ISO TC 204, the communications group leading that. He's also an OmniAir board member and executive committee member and chair of our coordinating council. I'm going to ask Mike to talk a little bit about the activities of our working groups and how folks can get involved if they want to be part of OmniAir.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to be here and hope you enjoy this from all around the world. One of the things that I really love as part of OmniAir, I've been involved for over 15 years. I think Sweary's been member since 2007. Personally, I've been involved over 15 years with OmniAir, and some of what I love is what Jason had shown in those pictures, where some of the hands-on experience and expertise that all of the members in OmniAir have. I love coming to OmniAir events, participating in OmniAir. That hands-on expertise, real-world deployment expertise and testing is absolutely priceless. I've enjoyed that, benefited from it. Also, as a system integrator, one of my jobs is to try to get the most bang for the buck in any projects that we're doing. And the first thing to do that is to require OmniAir certification. If I know that I'm using OmniAir certified devices, OmniAir certified applications, I can do a lot more with the project and not spend so much of the project budget just trying to get devices to communicate at a basic level. So I've benefited tremendously, and hopefully I brought a little bit of that back as part of my role in chairing the coordinating council as well. As the chair of the coordinating council, we look across our working groups, and one of the things that I love about this is it's the who's who in the V2X and tolling industry, and it's been absolutely wonderful to work with all these members and that lead these working groups. We have a variety of working groups in OmniAir. We're always looking at future needs of the industry and what working groups should we have, what are those working groups focused on for the coming year and the following years. And the way that we've structured this is we have some that are technically oriented. For example, we have Frank Perry that leads our technical working group. And under that, you'll have working groups, sub-working groups like our B2X applications, our connected infrastructure and roadside units, the plug fest testing that we're planning for, and the technical activities of each of our plug fests. Two other working groups like our certification policy working group. You're going to hear from Lauri Brady from Kapsch next, that chairs that working group, to cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is an important part of both connected vehicles and tolling. And Brian Romansky from ISS chairs that as well. We have other working groups that are focused specifically on tolling and emerging payments, and also road usage charging. We also have a vacancy if you would like to join and lead one of the working groups. We have the aftermarket B2X devices is something that we're focused on, and we're currently looking for a chair for that. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was the priorities for this. If you become a member and you can participate in our planning exercises, we would love that. One of the things we do usually in the fall around our fall plug fest is we start to look at the priorities for the coming year. What are the various working groups focused on? What are the near-term activities, and what are the longer-term activities in the future that we need to plan for? And just to give some highlights of some of these, you'll see things like our tolling and road usage charging. We're looking at things like the SAE J3217 road usage charging, so B2X based RUC. We're also looking at, for like the V2X technical working group, we're looking at aftermarket devices. We're looking at tracking the longer term development of the OBU standard within SAE and being able to support that along with a framework for device profiles. We're always active in the infrastructure as well, looking at the CTI 4001, the RSU test specification, the sensor data sharing message, so how we do cooperative perception between the infrastructure and vehicles, defining tests for that, and down the road to network B2X. That's been a hot topic for us. How do we support network B2X? How do we help interoperability, not only in the US, but around the world? V2X application testing is a big focus as well. Where should OmniAir play in this? What kind of applications should we be certifying? Things like signal preemption, prioritization, critical protection of vulnerable road users like pedestrian conflict warnings. And we're looking at other things like travel information messages and weather and work zones. And finally, cybersecurity. Being able to do critical things like misbehavior detection and reporting, being able to test that, and also being able to test some of the new security permissions that are defined as part of our messages. So with that, we would love to have you be part of this ecosystem and part of this exercise that we do and help shape the future of OmniAir. And with that, I will turn it over to Lauri Brady from Kapsch, who leads our certification policy working group. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mike. And what I wanted to provide for you guys today is almost a user perspective of what do we get with OmniAir? Why is OmniAir important to us? So Kapsch is a sustaining member of OmniAir, and it provides us insight into the technical things that are happening with certifications for both RFID and connected vehicle equipment. So as you may know, Kapsch is predominantly in the tolling arena. So any equipment that we put on a roadside today for agency use needs to go through certification. In the past, we've done all that through EasyPass, and that's both lab testing, field testing, environmental testing, quite extensive. And then the second thing is then OmniAir certification. So that was a completely separate certification that we had to go through. A lot of it was very similar, but it was a whole separate process. Within the past year or two, we've moved to move those two certifications together. So both EasyPass and OmniAir now work together to make sure that the certifications that we're doing provide everything that we need both for the EasyPass agencies and then in any use that could be, outside of EasyPass. So OmniAir takes a more global perspective of that. We send our devices, off to DECRA, which is then an OmniAir certified test facility. So it really provides a whole nother level of certification that can be used outside of the tolling group. But then being members of OmniAir outside of just getting that equipment certification done allows us access to all the working groups that you saw earlier. So we are allowed then to participate in, things that happen with tolling or RUC or connected vehicle. And that lets us see really insights that are coming down the line from the different organizations that develop those standards, like the IEEE, SAE, those sorts of things. So with that insight, we can make sure that the equipment that we have produced are providing that is certified today. What do we need to do for the next generation of that? What potential upgrades do we need to do to make sure that we maintain our certification and continue with what the needs of the industry is going to provide? The other thing that it does for us is it gives us collaboration with other vendors. So anybody doing a roadside solution today with tolling, it isn't just going to be your company's or your vendor's equipment that may be on the side of the road. This allows us to work with the other vendors. And when like PlugFest happened, the point of that is to take your equipment out there, go with the other vendors, look at test equipment, and really test to make sure that everything works before you get to an installation. Also, it gives us a seat at the table. So when new standards come out and OmniAir is evaluating them, we can really see, what's going to be coming. Is it valid? Is it maybe not valid? What is the priority of testing? And just gives you really that insight into what's coming. And then also we can then make sure that all of our certifications then are making sure they meet the standards and needs of what our toll agency or customers are going to be needing. And then secondly, from an agency perspective, what does this mean to our customers and what might an agency then get from being a member of OmniAir? So if you're getting certified product from OmniAir / EasyPass, you're sure that anything that we're putting on the roadside is the highest quality and interoperable for your solution. The other thing that can potentially do then is make sure that you don't have to do extensive extra testing, right? So we know how draining FAT testing and that can be. This allows you to, obviously, maybe you still want to do some levels of that, but you may not need to go to the extent of making sure what are the components within that device? Do they meet all the standards that you need? What type of casing is in there? Because, environmental testing and all of those things are also done. Not just interoperability on a roadside or usability on a roadside, but really the components within that device are certified. So that's an extra level of security for you when you're looking for that certification. The next thing we would do is really encourage agencies. And, you don't need to be an equipment provider. You don't need to be a vendor to be a member of OmniAir. And like Jason said, I think Georgia just joined this past week. And that's great. Then they can also now have a seat at the table of what potential development is going to happen. And they can know what vendors are staying on the forefront of the latest technology, which agencies, other agencies are participating. So you may have, some collaboration with them. And it really gives you that additional sense of security in the device that you're putting out there, and knowledge that your vendors are very much staying at the table with what needs to happen to make sure your devices are the latest and greatest, they're secure, and are safe. So we do really recommend, agencies and, outside entities become a member of OmniAir, or just even if you think of someone who needs information, please reach out to any of us, and we'd be happy to provide you some reasons that OmniAir may be of benefit to you. As Jason talked about the Plug Fest that we recently have, I have a video next so you can see not only the beautiful SunTrax facility, but what we do out there on the roadside and what happens at some of the Plug Fest. And I think we got anything that may be hazardous out of this video, so it should be just a great little recap of the testing that we did out there. So go ahead, Brenda. Awesome. Thank you so much. And a little note on that, that was the J3217. So these are standards that these committees have been looking at and working on and making sure that these devices and standards are up to date. So if you need any more information on the standards or the committees, again, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
If you have any questions, let us know. Thank you for participating with us today. Have a great day, and we will see you soon.